Gospel according to Luke, the 12th chapter. Jesus said to his disciples, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, or about your body, what you will wear. For life is more than food, and the body more than clothing. Consider the ravens. They neither sow nor reap. They have neither storehouse nor barn, and yet God feeds them. Of how much more value are you than the birds? And can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your span of life? If then you are not able to do so small a thing as that, why do you worry about the rest? Consider the lilies, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. Yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not clothed like one of these. But if God so clothes the grass of the field, which is alive today and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, you of little faith? And do not keep striving for what you are to eat and what you are to drink, and do not keep worrying, for it is the nations of the world that strive after all these things, and your Father knows that you need them. Instead, strive for his kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well. Do not be afraid, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell your possessions and give alms. Make purses for yourselves that do not wear out, an unfailing treasure in heaven where no thief comes near and no moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." The Gospel of the Lord. Count your blessings. My friends, what a blessing it is to have a refrigerator that works. I can think of no cooler blessing. Where's my rim shot when I need it? We believe that giving thanks and noticing the small things and counting your blessings is important, especially when we see those returning to the charred remains of their homes in California, or know of those who are without power still in Puerto Rico, or those struggling in many places across the globe. Maybe it was coincidence, maybe it was divine intervention, but on the same day that I was out in the portico helping to hang the banner, "Count Your Blessings," that same day our refrigerator at home stopped working. Count your blessings. As if the Spirit was saying, "Okay, preacher, put your money where your mouth is." For the days that we didn't have a refrigerator working, I found myself anxious. I also found myself getting to know the checkout person at the convenience store as I went daily for a bag or two of ice back and forth to make sure the food in our coolers was usable. Day after day, I was worrying about the temperature of the food in the coolers and providing for our family. And it made me hear these words of Jesus differently when he says, "Do not worry about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, or about your body, what you will wear. For life is more than food, and the body is more than clothing." In this section of Luke, Jesus acknowledges that we are worriers. Oh, we've got that down pat, don't we? And Jesus knew it, and he addressed it, saying, "But can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your span of life?" It's as if he knew that our culture that we're seeped in makes us far more aware about what we don't have rather than encouraging us to count our blessings and give thanks for what we do have. Or, if I may quote from Pastor Cindy's sermon of last week, we are consumed by what we lack, rather than grateful for our abundance. If you didn't hear or see last week's sermon, Celebrate Enough, I commend it to you. You can pull it up on your device on YouTube and watch it. I just ask that you wait till this message is done before you do that. Last week, she preached on the 23rd Psalm. This week, we hear Jesus' words, and both messages remind us that it is the Father's good pleasure to provide in abundance, to give us the kingdom. And by striving for this kingdom, Jesus says, all these other things will be added to you as well. Jesus offers you in the midst of a culture that tells you that you're not enough or that you don't have enough. Jesus offers you words of promise, words of abundance, pointing to the lilies, pointing to the ravens, pointing to God's provision all around us. Words of confidence, words that invite us, even when the paychecks seem thin or when the refrigerator's not working. Words that invite us to trust and believe and act, knowing that God is enough. This is why we have a stewardship program each year, to remind ourselves of God's promise to provide, to remind us of the abundance that surrounds us in the midst of this blessing of life, to take our spiritual temperature by making a commitment to God. I almost stumbled on the prayer of the day today, thought there was a typo in there. Did you see that in the last line? Redeemed by you, let us give you what is yours. I thought it should say, let us give you what is ours. Isn't that what we're doing? Let us give you what is yours, O God. From the faith perspective, everything comes from the hand of the Creator. So how much should one give? Well, the Bible lifts up an example. The Bible mentions tithing, 10%. The first fruits of our labors given to the glory of God. Now, if giving 10% of your income blows your mind and you can't think of that, well, maybe you should look to Jesus' example and who he lifts up. He lifts up a poor widow who throws in 2 copper coins to the offering, the original joyful noise offering. She goes above and beyond the tithe, offering everything to God. And my friends, Calvary does just that. Calvary exceeds the biblical example of a tithe. Every year we give away $150,000 to $180,000 of our $1 million operating budget. We give it away because we wouldn't ask you as individuals to tithe if we weren't willing to do it as an organization. So how much to give? Well, one pastor was asked this by a member over lunch. How much do you expect me to give, Pastor? Pastor pondered and said, well, I don't think I can give you an exact figure, but I believe that your giving to the church will likely be less than your monthly mortgage or rent payment. But I believe it should be more than the blessing of your monthly entertainment expenses. Perhaps that is something for us to ponder as we go through this stewardship program. As a part of the program, we mailed home a brochure to our members. If you haven't seen it, there are extras around. It has valuable information about our life together and the finances that make it possible. And it lifts up several goals for our stewardship program. The most important one being that we all could increase in the joy of experiencing generous living. Now, maybe you've heard the old saying, never go visiting to someone's house without taking some sort of gift. The same could be said as true for coming to God's house. Here, our regular giving is indeed such a house gift. And yet, regular giving doesn't always spur people on to generosity the way that we might hope or think. Oh, I know that special giving and regular giving sometimes get split apart as two different things, and some wonder which is more important, or should it be a both and? So let me address regular giving and special giving, because special giving is such a great gift. Above and beyond regular giving to things like our hurricane relief, $9,000 for disaster relief in recent weeks given by folks here. Earlier this year, $10,000 given to mission in Slovakia. Last year, over $15,000 given for water well projects in Africa. Yes, special giving has its place. However, to say that regular giving isn't special misses the mark. What's so special about $1 million in operating mission funds? Perhaps God is asking us to answer that question. Maybe there's nothing special about coming to worship and hearing a sermon or a piece of music that touches your heart or speaks words of comfort to your soul. Nothing special. Or is there? There's nothing special about calling the office to put a loved one who is struggling on the prayer list, knowing that the community of faith is helping to bear one another's burdens. Or is there? There's nothing special about children in the backseat of a vehicle singing VBS songs about Jesus' love to and from your summer destination. Or is there? There's nothing special about making a meal and taking it to the shelter where people are as hungry for hope as they are for food. Or is there? Some would say there's nothing more important than regular giving, nothing more special than fueling the mission of your local congregation. For in doing so, you are giving to God. You are giving to God's mission. You are making a statement of faith. You are heeding Jesus' call to strive first for the kingdom. You are finding it possible to worry less about material goods and show the world where your truest treasure is. So count your blessings, Calvary, and open your refrigerator. And especially if it's working, smile. And then join us as we humbly offer what we have to do God's work in this place. And now to him who is able to accomplish abundantly beyond all we could ask or imagine, to him be glory, now and forever.